What's up everyone, David Seven Skies here, broadcasting from the Seven Skies Mansion. Today, I'm gonna show you how Tiesto and I made My Frequency. So before we start, as you probably noticed, Tiesto is not here. He's pretty busy, so he couldn't really make it to the studio, but don't worry about it. I got this. I'm pretty sure you're still gonna be able to learn something. So let's just jump right into the project. All right, so what you see here is the project of My Frequency. It's a little bit messier than usual because obviously I wasn't the only person who worked on this, but it's still pretty Seven Skies looking. What should we start with? We start with the drums, because the drums are actually very important. There's a lot of things that sort of create the groove and movement in this song, and a lot of it actually comes from the drum. Then again, the most important part is probably the steps and the FM bass sounds. But let's start with the drums, and the drums are fairly simple. So one of the most important elements in the drums is actually this open hi-hat over here. And what it does is actually helps transitioning from the brass stab sound to the Serum FME sound. So let's have a listen. This is the brass stab and this is the FME sound, and it all sounds like this. So when there's this little gap over here that stops the whole flow of the song, and so this hi-hat helps a lot with filling that gap and basically taking you from the brass part to the FM sounds part. That's a very important element. Another very important element, it's not in the drum bus, it's a tom and the counter kick. So let's have a look. So here we have the kick bus, and the kick is from it's from one of the get low patches that you find in the Dirty House, and I forgot the name of it. I forgot the name of the preset, but this is the kick. Here you can hear the counter kick, which is nothing but the exact same kick. Now it's been frozen, but it's basically the exact same kick, just a little shorter. I put a little fade, so it would be something like this. Nothing special, exact same kick, and what it does, it just plays this counter melody. And you notice over here, there's no counter kick, but there's a tom. Now the tom is actually in the bass section, and the tom come from Serum, is something I programmed, and it comes from my Fishburg 2 preset pack that you can find. That I'll leave a link in the description down below. But this is the tom. And when you play the tom, the drums, and the kick, this is what it sounds like. That's the whole percussion part. But now let's get to the thing that I've got asked the most, which is actually the simplest thing that's in this song, and I am talking about the brass stabs. The brass stabs are nothing but a Kashmir brass stab that I don't even know if it's okay. It's from Kashmir Volume 3. There is obviously some post-processing, but it's nothing crazy. So this is how it sounds without it. Very basic. And then there's a OTT, there's a Saturn, And there's a bit of EQ, removing all the lows, giving a little bit of the low mids, and a bit of high frequencies as well. And this is what you get. It's definitely punchier. Those are the stops. As you can see, they're fairly simple, but there are 3 other things that make this sound stand up. Plus, there's a little trick that I did, which was kind of a mistake, but it really made the song. So let's check that out. As I was saying, there are 2 other layers in this stab that play the same melody. One is a get low, and it's from the Rave expansion, I believe. Yes, it's from the Rave expansion, and it plays this. Pretty basic, but it gives a little bit of body. And then there's this serum. This sound comes from Fishbird 1, and it's called D Sounds Best, D Sharp Sounds Best. And I'm not sure it was in D Sharp. No, it definitely wasn't in D Sharp, but it sounded great anyway. And this is how it sounds. That's the layering, but here's the thing. The most important sound, in my opinion, when it comes to this first part, when it comes to the stabs in this song, it's this little reverse stab over here, which is nothing but the same sample, but it's reversed, and there's nothing really going on. It's just the same sample but reversed, and what it does is just this. However, for as simple as this sound is, it creates a perfect transition again between the stabs and the second part of the drop with the bass. Let me play this really quickly for you. So you can hear, you get this sort of breathing, and this is something that creates a lot of tension and gives a lot of impact when the second part of the drop comes in. So if I play the same thing but without that reverse sound, this is how it sounds. You can hear that something is missing. The transition is not really natural. There's no tension. Well, that little sound makes the whole difference in the world. And in this song, you cannot probably tell that there's something like that, or you can tell it kind of sounds like a reverb in the whole mix, but it's a reverb sound, and I feel like it gives so much breathing to the song, and I love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite thing in this drop. Okay, before I said that there was one little trick that made a lot of difference in the drop as well, and it was actually a mistake because basically when I was working on the song, I put all the layers and I put sidechain on everything, but because as you can see, the bass layers and the brass stabs are in a different group. What happened is I didn't put sidechain on the stabs, and not having sidechain on the stabs actually gave them way more space than and especially way more impact than they would have had if there was sidechain on it. And this little mistake actually gave a lot of power to the stabs because basically they just hit right away, and the impact that you get from those stabs, it's incredible. When the drop comes in, you just get like punched in the face by the stabs, and that's exactly what I wanted. When I figured out that I made this mistake and there was no sidechain on the stabs, I was like, oh wow, no, I need to put sidechain. And when I put it, it was just like it just wasn't kicking and punching your face as it was doing without the sidechain. So I feel like we always feel sort of forced to put sidechain on our song, on our elements. I do it every time I have something that is not percussion or something else. I just open a sidechain, just like instinct now. I put a sound and I put sidechain. Everything, no matter what, pads or basses or leads. But sometimes experimenting with not putting leads to really good results, and especially like in these stabs, the power and the importance and the impact that they have when the drop comes in, it's incredible. So I'm glad I made this mistake, and you should try and make this mistake as well. Okay, so moving on from the brass stabs, there are other stabs that come in further in the drop, and they are slightly different because we felt that to have the same stab going over and over and over and over might become a little bit too repetitive. So basically after 16 bars, the stabs go from being brass to being a super soul stab, and this is how it sounds. In this case, however, there is sidechain, and the reason is we wanted to have the stabs to still be the most powerful element in the song. And so by putting LFO tool on the super soul stabs, you still get impact, but it's not as big as impact as the brass stab do. But let's check out the processing on this. There's an RC20. There's LFO tool, so if I turn everything off, RC20 basically helps making the sound a little bit darker and kind of, I don't know, I love RC20. I use it all the time. It warms it up. It just makes it better. And then, of course, LFO tool gives it that bounce. And in this case, even if we are using super saws as the stabs, we're still using that brass reverse. It just sounded so well, and it was just perfect. I tried to reverse the super soul lead, but it just wasn't working as well as the brass stab. So that's why I used that instead of reversing the super soul. So the other more important sound in my frequency after the stabs is the bass house FM sound, and it's made in serum. It's actually three different serum, because there's another layer in the second drop, and then there is a sub bass. So we're gonna go through all the layers. Once again, this is from my library Fishbird 2, all of the sounds beside the sub. So let's start with the first layer. As you can see, if you look over here in the semitone part of the oscillator 2, so basically the sound is an FM sound. So oscillator A is modulated by oscillator B, and they're just like very simple sine waves. So in the first part of this sound, the semitones are 4 semitones on the oscillator B. So you get this sound. But then the sound goes a little higher, and the way I did that was by automating the semitone in the second part. So over here, if I click, you can see that there's an automation that takes them up. So this basically allows this sound to change constantly. And the cool part of this drop is that basically the melody that comes in is always different. You can see here in the first part, it goes down. So this part is pretty similar to this one, but here it goes down, and here you can see it goes up. Then here it goes down and then up twice. Well, here is an octave higher. Then here it goes up in this part. This is the only block that's similar, and then it just changes again. It's a complete mess. I just wanted to go super crazy when I made this drop, and I think I nailed it. If we look at the processing, there's really not that much going on. There's an erosion that just helps giving a little bit of noise to the sound. So if I turn it off, it makes it a little grittier. It helps with the mix. Then there's this EQ. It's simply boosting the volume at 310 Hertz, which is the harmonic that this lead plays. And this is pretty much it. So if we move on to the other layer is, once again, serum, once again, my Fishbird library. And this sound, it's still an FM sound, but it's definitely grittier compared to the previous sound. The previous sound is pretty smooth. It's just a simple sine wave. This one, however, is completely different. So as you can tell, it's definitely greedier. This helps a lot if you layer it. Helps a lot with filling the spectrum, because otherwise the other sound is it's way too thin. However, this sound, the first layer, helps a lot with giving that harmonic that really sticks out, but the other layer definitely helps with filling the spectrum. Obviously, I cut all the lows because for the low end, we have this sub, which is a silent sound. And it's a very simple sound. Let me play it for you. I don't know how much you're gonna hear. And this one doesn't really follow the MIDI, the melody on top over here, as you see, because when this bass played the octave higher, the jump that it did was definitely too much, the jump in volume. So I didn't really like the result. I can play it to you, but it just didn't sound good. It just lost all that power and that big bottom end that it has, so I decided to keep it the octave lower. However, it does go an octave higher here. This is pretty much it for the bass. However, in the second drop, the bass changes again, and the way it changes is that basically, there's another layer which is an octave higher compared to everything else, and even this one, it's from Fishburne 2. This is my frequency 3. And this is what it does. It's just sort of a mix between the two other layers. So it has that pointy frequency, but it also sounds very FM-y as well. When you play all of them together, you get my frequency. When it comes to the effects in the drop, to be honest, there isn't really much. The song is fairly minimal. I mean, I'm used to put way more crap and way more fills and effects and noises all over the place. There's a big difference from this song compared to all my other songs, which are usually filled with noises and fills. There are just a couple of snare fills, and they're super simple. There are definitely more effects in the second drop, but if we look at the effects section in the drop, you see that there isn't really that much stuff. The drop is here and here, so there's a little fill. There's this noise that goes that helps with giving a little bit extra impact to the stabs, but it only happens once. And then there's just like some uplifter stuff. And then here again. In the second drop, there is the Seven Skies noise that's super loud. You can find that noise, which is this one. Now it's rendered in this stem, but I am pretty sure you can find it in the VIP Sounds of Kashmir, Seven Skies. It's either the noise top or the noise that works everywhere. Yeah, noise that works everywhere. That's the one. And it's just super loud. Because the second drop is obviously you want even more energy than the first one, so I was like, all right, let's just put a freaking super loud noise in there. But again, nothing too crazy. There is breaking glass somewhere, which I believe is this. Yeah. Which helps with this little fake break over here. But that's pretty much it for the noises. There are definitely more effects and noises and uplifter stuff in the breakdowns, which is what we're gonna look at now. The breakdown, in my opinion, is actually one of the most underrated part of the song. And the reason is there's the beautiful vocal from Reb, which obviously was so cool that it had to be louder than everything in the breakdown. And then there's the drop that everybody loves. However, there are a few things in the breakdown that I think are super cool, especially the melody in the breakdown, which is actually how the song started. So let's check that out. Once again, Serum, once again, Fishbird 2. I know, guys, this is probably like the biggest Fishbird standalone music infomercial in the world, but for this song I really wanted to just like make all the sound pretty much myself, and yeah, beside a few exceptions, and obviously beside the drums, all the sounds were made by me. So the song started actually with this sound. And actually, let me remove the filters so you can hear better. So this is actually how the song started. After I made that little melody, I moved to the drop right away. I got really excited about that little melody, and I was like, all right, this is basically done. It's just gonna need some random percussion and some random uplifters. So let's focus on the drop. But yeah, like I said, I really like this melody or whatever. That's the main part. Then there is this little plucky sound that is from Serum as well. We just rendered it to audio. And then there's this little lasery tom kind of sound, and that's again from Serum, once again from Fishbird 2. It's called Picture. This little effects obviously follows the same pattern as the step, so it goes like doom 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 doom. As you know, one very important thing in a song, especially when you have something that you feel that is super catchy, is to try and remind people about that thing as much as you can. For example, in this song, we figured that those brass stabs were the catchiest part of the song, and so what we did is we tried to use it as much as possible. So the song starts with the pum 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 pum. It's just not the same sound, but when the main sound comes in, you are reminded, you have that rhythm in mind already, and so it just helps a lot with like sticking into your brain and having it become an earworm. The other cool thing in this breakdown, this is the second breakdown, it's this tom. This is from Serum as well. Now it's in it here, but I'm pretty sure it's just the same preset, slightly tweaked. It's the same lasery sound. This just works super well with the melody when you come from the first drop. It's just like, it just sets the mood in such a nice way. So that's pretty much it for the breakdown. Nothing crazy, just that sound and those tom sounds. Then obviously there's some filtered drums, but I don't think it's anything that's particularly worth looking at. However, what's worth looking at, as I'm sure you're all waiting for, it's Reb vocals. So let's have a look. Okay, so Reb vocals, the whole channel thing is a bit of a mess because that's something that we did after in LA, and the song was already made, and so we had to put it in the project after, and we just had like a million ideas, and it's super messy. This is it. The main vocal is this one here, but first things first, let's just look at some effect vocal. That's just a little effects vocal that's in the intro, and it carries on in the first breakdown, and then it comes back in the outro. It just helps with creating atmosphere. Nothing super crazy, and even the vocal doesn't have too much crazy stuff going on. However, there are a couple tricks that we did with delay, so let's have a look.
If you wanna dance with me, you need to get my frequency.
You see over here, there's a doubled vocal, and what it is simply a delay. And we didn't want to have the delay all over the vocal. We wanted to have the vocal pretty much dry, but as you can see in the project over here, there's quite a bit of space between a sentence and the other one. So we definitely needed something that would make the vocal sort of carry on even when the vocal wasn't there, because otherwise it would have felt a little bit too empty. So we put delay only on the final part of the sentence, and this is how it sounds.
Dance with me.
And also, that's a very Sevens Guys thing to do. It's automating the delay. I always automate the delay. Sometimes I change the timing. Sometimes I make it, for example, like in this case, it goes from normal to ping pong. So in the first part, Dance With Me is just a normal delay, and in the second part, it's a ping pong delay, so it goes left and right.
Dance with me.
It's just a neat little trick. Probably nobody has heard this thing while listening to the song, or maybe it's one of those things that you can hear after you heard it for like a million times. But once again, I think it's very, very important to put those little ear candies, and maybe people are never gonna hear it, but sometimes I feel like even if you can't hear it, your brain somehow can, and maybe you don't realize it, but your brain sort of processes it, and you feel like the song, it's just more complete and more professional sounding. So always keep in mind whenever you're making songs, maybe don't go super crazy with details, because there is a certain amount of detail where I think it's good to have them, and then there's over that amount, I think it becomes a little bit necessary. And I used to be the king of unnecessary ear candies, but now I sort of learn to balance everything. And then in the second breakdown, there's this part, it just loops the final part of the sentence. And in this case, there's a lot happening, especially in the master. We'll have a look at it in a second, but basically there's an endless smile. It goes like this. Which takes us to my favorite part of the song. And the reason it's my favorite part is that it's an absolute mess that does not make sense, and it's noisy and it's crazy, and I absolutely love it. So when Tiesto and I made this song, we just wanted it to be completely crazy. Just, like I said, the drop just keeps changing, and I wanted to design all the sounds myself. I just wanted to go freestyle with everything as much as I could. I just wanted this song to be crazy. And I think the craziest part of this song, like I said, it's probably the second build-up. I wanted this to be one of those WTF moments. And I was like, okay, I just want people to listen to this part and just think, what the hell were these guys doing when they made this part? And I think we nailed it. What happens in the second build-up, I'm just gonna solo a few things. What's going on over here in the master, there's an endless smile, and then there's an erosion, and then there's an auto pan. So endless smile does nothing but do the reverb thingy. Erosion and auto pan, it's where the magic happens. And let's play it. What I wanted to have was basically have the song that would get basically destroyed as the build gets to the end. And the way that I did it was basically using erosion. There's an automation on a bunch of things, on the amount, then the frequency of the erosion, and obviously the on and off of the erosion, because you definitely don't want to have erosion on your master, because this is on the master. This is happening on the master, so you have to make sure that the erosion is off, because otherwise your song is gonna sound super terrible. The erosion was cool, but I felt like it wasn't destroyed enough. So what I did is I put an auto pan and I set it to random. Actually, this is sample and hold, if we want to be super technical. Which is some kind of a square random wave. And what it does, it makes the sound go left and right. And the reason I wanted it to go left and right in a random way, it's because this way it gives the impression that the song is getting completely destroyed, and yeah, it's just destroyed. But I didn't want to have a glitch sound, because that's kind of common. I wanted to have something that people have never heard before. So this is how we made it. It's basically auto pan and erosion, and then endless smile goes inside erosion and the auto pan, and you get this effect. Okay, this is it. This is how Tiesto and I made this crazy track. I have to say I am super stoked and super thankful for the support you guys have showed on the song. This is actually, today is the second week, and we just got to 2 million plays, over 2 million plays, which is pretty insane. So thank you so much for loving the song. Thank you for streaming it. Thank you for tweeting me and tagging me in all of your posts. It really means a lot. I am, again, incredibly stoked. When I started this song, it was just incredible, because I started the song and then Tiesto walked into the room and he loved it. He sat down with me. He sat with me and he was like, I want to work on this. And so I was very excited. I didn't think it would have gone where it ended up being. So it really means a lot. And once again, if you saw one of my videos from a few months ago, never stop believing in yourself, and stuff like this just happen. So this is it for today. Let me know in the comments if there's something that I missed. There's probably something that I missed, because this project, it's not huge, but it has a lot of little tricks. Let me know if you maybe wanna see a video where I talk about the mix of this song and the master of this song. Everything is running through my SSL compressor. But yeah, if enough people ask for it, I'll definitely do a video about the mixing of the song. Don't forget to subscribe and join the notification squad. Every YouTuber says notification squad. I don't know why I said it, but that's what people say these days. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of the song? What do you think of the project? What's your favorite part? What would you like to know? And I usually stick around for 30 minutes to an hour every time I post a video. So put your comments and I'll reply. Don't forget to put a thumbs up in this video if you liked it. And for me, David, 7 Skies, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.